is Bradley. And Bradley will give a speech with the title Rocky Balboa and Why You Need to Tell Your Story. Do I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. A short introduction. Bradley's asking, has every story already been told? Every place on the planet already been visited? Has every conversation already taken place? Yes, yes, and yes. So why bother doing it all again? Bradley is going to tell you how Rocky Balboa does it, and then how and why you should do it too. So please give a warm applause for Bradley.
Okay, show of hands. Adonis Creed. I've succeeded already. My audience completely, as well as the title or the theme of my speech, which is something like, what is the theme of my speech? It is an unfamiliar topic to the majority, vast majority, of the audience. Adonis Creed is the son of Apollo Creed. Oh, okay. two. Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed was the other boxer against Rocky. A few more hands. Rocky. A few more. From the films Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 then turned into Creed 1 and Creed 2. So believe me, you don't have to see any of the films after Rocky 2 or so. So Creed 1 and Creed 2, the reason this came about was that I just saw Creed 2 together with my 12-year-old son. Now again, this is not a film critic evening, but you don't need to bother with Creed 2. It's just not really worth the €9 or so. So, also because what happens in Creed 2, as I was sitting there watching the film, saying, this is the exact same story as Rocky 2. Here we are in Creed 2, and it's the same story in Rocky 2. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I've already seen this story. This is the exact same plot as Rocky 2. Lose the fight, surprisingly, because you're so fantastic. Train especially hard, even harder than before because you lost the fight. And guess what? Win the fight the next time, right? We've seen it time and time again. In fact, you don't have to see any of the movies because they're all exactly the same. So, why bother going to the movie? Why bother telling your own story if it's all been told? Why bother traveling to anywhere in the entire planet if all of those places have already been visited? Why bother having a conversation? Why bother giving a speech tonight? Because hasn't it all been said? Isn't everything just a repetition of what's already existed at some point by someone on the planet in some time, in some time zone to a certain audience? Yes, of course. It's all been done. It's all been done. So if that were my conclusion, a depressing one at that, then we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't have a reason to be here. I wouldn't have a reason to be here, and you wouldn't have a reason to even listen because you had heard it all before. So what's the difference? Why can I sit there and watch Creed 2 and still be entertained? And still think, that was pretty good? For one, because it's the same story, but it's told through a different person. We have different characters in a different time to a different audience. Even though that audience of years ago, I was not the same person. We can make the argument that I was not the same person at that point in that audience watching that film as I now am watching this film today. And so today, now I bring it to you. We've had enough with Rocky and Adonis Creed, and now we're on to you. The question I get very often is, but that story has already been told. That question has already been asked. Why should I, simple, bland no one, even bother to tell my story? Who am I to think that I have a story to tell. So I say, it doesn't matter if you're copying the story. It doesn't matter if your story has been told 1,000,000 times. Because this time, the story is told by you. This is what makes it unique, because it's through you. It might be the same plot, but it's your story. And why does this matter? Why is this important? Why do we even have to tell our story? Because there is someone out there who needs to hear your story. There is someone out there who is waiting to hear your story, who is going to connect and rise up thanks to your story. So you cannot be silent by saying, oh, my story has already been told. There is someone waiting out there to hear your story. We cannot sit back and think someone else will tell the story because, oh, they will. But that's their version of it. We need your story out there, because if Susan hadn't come up and told her story of doing what's following her heart, well, hopefully many of us follow our heart. So that's not necessarily a new topic, but it's her topic tonight. And it connected with some of us, and some of us are really going to connect it and take that home, and we have then connected more with Susan. Or we talk about board games. And I like board games, but I had never thought of all the strategic, positive reasons that I can never not play board games again, apparently, because there is so much goodness in board games. So we connected because you dared to tell your story tonight. You came out, you told your version of board games. So have all of the stories been told? I think not, because I can't think of ever hearing Hannah's story about the being asked to marry me at the bus station. So apparently not all stories have quite been told yet. But if it has, and even if it hasn't, even who cares if it has, you need to tell your story. You need to get up, stand up, speak your story, because someone out there is waiting for it. So go see Rocky 2. Don't bother with Creed 2. It's same story, different people. If you really like Rocky 2, maybe. But tell your story, because you are the only one who can tell it. Good night, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take a minute to write up some feedback for Bradley, and also take some time to vote.